Good evening, everyone. I'm Casey, your host for today's event, and I'm one of the MQ Trader team. So before I start, can I have a quick mic check? For those of you who are in this webinar already, can you type 1 in the chat box if you can hear me clearly? Type 1 if you can hear me clearly. So remember to log into your MQ Trader account so that you can use the chat box to interact with me or share or ask any questions you want. Okay, Victor, thank you for your response. I see many of you respond already. Okay, so welcome to our webinar on the topic of ESG. So we will learn about how we can invest in ESG counters in Malaysia and also how ESG impacts stock market performance in Malaysia. So let me briefly introduce MQ Trader to you in case anyone don't know or who are new to us. So MQ Trader stands for Malaysia Quantitative Trader Group. We do quantitative methods of analysis in our stock trading. We developed the MQ Trader stock analysis tool and we bring this tool free to our MQ members. This is a tool that is normally only available to large financial institutions. So we bring it to our MQ members for free so that we can empower them to make quicker decisions and with greater confidence. Here's a showcase on the tool itself. We have MQ E-Trade, one of the feature in MQ Trader stock analysis tool. In this MQ E-Trade, you can get up to 10 market depths and also MQ trading signals, which is exclusive to this platform. This will all facilitate your trading journey. And here's our chart system. You can get buy and sell signals with just one click. You can even do back test to test the past signal's accuracy. And again, for current MQ members, you can visit the link for more information if you haven't used this signal or use this chart system. So how to join as an MQ members? You just need to open a trading account with our selected advertiser. And on our screen here is TA Securities Jessie Xiao. So with an account with them, you can get free access to all the system that I've shown you just now. And also you can get extra 500 MQ points just for today if you open a trading account today. Okay, so if you're interested, do scan the QR code here or visit the link to submit your interest. The respective team will contact you shortly after this. And with TA Securities team, they are running a Trading Cup event from 1st of June until 31st of August. It is a trading competition. You can join and stand a chance to win prizes worth up to 100,000, including Rolex watch, IMAX, Samsung phones, and etc. So if you're interested, again, you need to start with signing up with a TA Securities account. So for more terms and conditions, you can PM their support team to know more. With MQ Trader, we are currently running a referral campaign where MQ affiliates can get a bonus of 1,000 MQ coins for each successful referrals within the campaign period. So the campaign period is up to 30th of June. You have about 1 to 2 weeks time left. And this bonus is equivalent to 10 ringgit per referral. This is a bonus on top of your usual MQ affiliate recurring rewards. So if you're interested, do sign up as an MQ affiliate. And for MQ affiliates, remember to refer your friends so that you can earn your rewards. And for all current MQ members, meaning you have a trading account with our selected advertiser, you can get a bonus 300 MQ points as a check-in rewards for today's webinar. So the steps to get this reward is very simple. You just need to screenshot any part of the webinar and then submit it in the quiz, the post-webinar quiz that will be sent to your email after this. The quiz will be sent to those who register for this webinar only. So if you haven't registered, do register now so that you can get our post-webinar updates, including the quiz and also the recordings. So remember, you need to submit the webinar screenshot for today. And you need to register. So I will stop here for a while so that all of you can remember to take your screenshot now, in case you forgot after that. Okay, so we are going to have a Q&A session after Max sharing, after all of the sharing, followed by a mysterious gift session after that. So we will be giving out gifts worth up to 249 ringgit. So make sure you stay till the end to grab your chance to win the gifts. And also our post-webinar quiz and also the mysterious gift questions will be taken from Max sharing. So do try to focus during his sharing today so that you can answer the questions as well. And regarding our speaker's profile, Max, he is a lead speaker of the Venture Group and has supported the growth of the group to become the champion in the Best Remiser Reward in 2021. Okay, he accumulated over 6 years of experience as a debt consultant. He holds multiple roles in Rakuten Trade and TA Securities. He has spoke in Sinchu, Chinese newspaper, and also SGX Academy, Busa Young Investor Clubs, and many, many more places as well. The topic that he will be sharing with us today is about ESG. He will talk about the rise of ESG in Malaysia and also how it affects the stock market and how we can integrate the ESG criteria in our investment decisions. So after all this introduction, can I check if you're ready for Max sharing? Can you type 3 in the comment section if you're ready? Brian Tan, you're the first one. Okay, I saw some of the questions. I'll quickly answer a bit. If you can't hear us and in any part of the webinar, you may just refresh your screen, your browser, or you just reconnect your Bluetooth device. Okay, so since everyone is ready, without further ado, I would like to invite Max to share with us now.
Right. Hi. Can you guys hear me? Let me quickly do a mic check. If you can hear me loud and clear, can I please have a hi, or you can type in a 1 so that I know you guys can hear me and I can kickstart my sharing. Okay, again, if you guys can hear me, you can type in a 1 or just say hi so that I know that you guys can hear me loud and clear. Then we can start the session.
Max, I think we can't see your screen. Maybe you want to reshare a bit.
Sorry. Can you see now?
No.
No. Sorry. Let me quickly adjust for a bit. Okay, one moment, guys.
Okay, so for all of you who wants to interact with our speaker, remember to sign into your MQ Trader account. If you haven't have one, you can just register one for free. It's an online account, yeah? The button is on the top right corner of your screen. You just need to sign in or register one.
Okay, can you guys see now?
Yeah.
Okay, great. So good evening, guys. I think I'll be. I think the issue is because I sometimes need to tap out to see some of the questions that you guys have, but obviously I don't think that's quite possible with this. But no worries. If you have any questions pertaining to the session and the topic I have today, you are more than welcome to ask, as long as it's in my scope of understanding or I can answer. I'm happy to answer that. Right. So without further ado, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. So welcome to today's topic of the rise of ESG investing in Malaysia and the impact of it on the stock market performance. Right. Where today we will have a really quite a serious discussion on how we always hear about ESG all the time, but we really want to dive down and see how ESG investing would actually change the way we invest and how would it impact your real rate of returns on Bursa Malaysia. Okay, so I'm sure that everyone here, you are familiar with the term ESG, or at least you have heard of someone saying it once or twice before. But for the benefit to those who are not familiar with the term, or it's the first time ever hearing the term, ESG stands for environmental, social, and governance. And maybe you can explain a bit about ESG investing for the benefit of those who are fresh towards the term. Okay, so now we can take a step back. We can imagine that the stock market is a really big and busy supermarket, where the supermarket is full of all the products, whatever it is, whether milk powder, vegetables, meat, maybe it's canned drinks, whatever it is. You can imagine whatever you like. And these products, they are the companies that we want to invest to, and you can choose whatever product and put into your shopping cart. That shopping cart particularly is our portfolio. Now, normally when we shop, being Malaysian myself, the most conscious thing I would look at is normally its price, and maybe I would look at the brand. But what if you decided to make a change somewhat? You started to select the products, in this case, which are the stocks that would be good for your health, and for the better good of the planet. Well, perhaps this is where ESG it will kick in, right? So let me break it down into one by one. E, I think it's relatively simple to understand environmental. If we take into the context of the shopping mall, supermarket just now, we look at the ingredients of that product, which equivalent to the company. Does the ingredient takes that make in this particular product has harmful substance, or it will create pollution to a certain extent? Or maybe going one step deeper, does this ingredient it somewhat help in reducing the carbon footprint overall, right? So there are a lot of importance in the E aspect. So as long as we are making conscious choice to make better good for the planet, I think the product itself is doing good for the planet that fulfills the E aspect of the ESG investing. But we'll talk about greenwashing later on, which is a term that I just learned recently while I'm researching on this topic particularly, right? That is also quite critical in terms of selecting our choice of investment in Malaysia. Now, for S itself, perhaps this is where things got a bit confusing if we just gonna explain in very technical term what is S itself. Now, but if we take into terminology of how the product, this is where we understand when the product is made, how the company actually treat the stakeholder, for example, like employees, customers, and also towards the communities as well. And actually, if you look back into many years back, Bursa had actually mandated main market listed companies for them to include CSR, which is corporate social responsibilities, in their public disclosure. So to be really honest, ESG is not something new, just that the team has really gone into the eyeballs of investors now. Actually, a lot of companies have been doing it, but maybe not to that serious kind of extent. And as a lot of companies, they are already doing. So if you are unsure, when you come back into the stock market, you're unsure whether the company is actually fits into the social responsibilities they should have as a listed company. So you can think about how the company would treat their people. Are they treating people in fairness? If you are in the stock market for quite some time, I'm sure that you are aware that there's one particular electronics company and also one particular glove company that gets into serious trouble for not giving fair treatments towards their labor. And of course, as an investor, when that happens, your value of that investment will get devastated, and there will be a mass destruction in terms of value, whatever your investment is at the point of time. So be really careful with the social part. It might not be something as flashy as environmental, but once it occurs, we talk about the risk management part of ESG investing later on. And once it occurs, it could really disrupt the value of a company really quickly, right? And for G actually is the governance part where it's represented on the company's leadership, maybe business ethics, and also the transparency of a company. Now, back into supermarket now. Imagine if you're buying a product and they are not honest to you on what they are actually putting, what kind of ingredients they're putting into that product. Are you still comfortable in consuming or buying that kind of product, right? So when a company, they are not even honest on disclosing what kind of ingredient they're using to putting into their labeling. So you can imagine once that takes into effect, I'm sure everyone is aware of a oil and gas company that doesn't really disclose some of the things as they should have. So yeah, that would also cause a destruction in terms of shareholders' value for these kind of companies. But again, ESG is one way we can mitigate a lot of risk if you really dive deep into it. And another way, actually, ESG is the theme of investing, which we discuss in the explaining more about the benefits of understanding the ESG investing in Malaysia, right? Once again, thank you for the host for the kind introduction just now. Maybe just let me do a very quickly one. I myself now, I'm mainly engaged in, I'm a financial blogger, and just to do a little bit of correction, I am not having a experience of 6 years as a debt consultant, but I have been investing in the stock market for over 7 years. I've taken the roles of debt consultant, risk management and compliance. I've been in the dealing of securities industry before. I worked in 2 securities firms before, and through the financial blog, some of you may know me through Want to Invest and eVenture. I have the opportunity to actually talk to hundreds of public listed companies management team, and I'm humbled to actually consolidate their wisdom and share with you today. It's not from me, but it's the wisdom of a lot of PLCs and of course a lot of public material that I've consolidated, right? So again, thank you everyone for having me today, and also thank you MQ Traders specifically for inviting me to discuss on this really important topic that I think a lot of people should put more serious consideration into it for your future investments, right? But before we continue, let me do a quick disclaimer. I should be eventual, but this is my usual disclaimer. By all means, we are not a licensed personnel to give you any form of investment advice, and we strongly encourage you to talk to licensed advisor or financial planner if you need any form of investment or financial advice, right? If we did, which you see, I'm trying to avoid the names of the companies just now, but if we did in certain instances did mention any securities, please be reminded we do not intend to give you any kind of recommendation of buy, sell, or hold, right? This is purely for educational and only for sharing purposes only. Okay, so let me give you a very brief overview on what is going on in the ESG atmosphere that is in Bursa Malaysia now, right? So as you can see here, according to the iShares market fittings up to 7th of February 2022, there were actually 235 ESG mandated funds globally. To our surprise, has invested in Bursa Malaysia as an exchange with a total holding value of US dollar 143.5 billion. So based on these statistics, where you can see on the screen here, 44% are from North America, 27% from Europe, 26% of them are from Asia, ex-Malaysia, and 3% of it is from the Middle East industry. And on figure 2, which is the chart on the left side, you can see that there are quite a significant amount of local ESG mandated funds that invested in Bursa Malaysia, which we'll talk about it a little bit on why companies that do not comply with ESG, they might miss out the opportunity of getting invested by these big names that you see over here shortly, right? Apart from the statistics that we just see there on the previous slide, but actually back in 2014, our country actually launched the FTSE4Good Bursa Malaysia Index, which they have over 300 indicators underpinned against 14 different ESG teams. Now, if you look at here, you can notice that there will be 14 different kind of ESG teams. This is taken from FTSE Russell. And if you may look at the ESG rating framework right over there, where in fact the stock universe, if you fulfill this certain kind of ESG requirement, you move into a different stock universe. What do I mean by stock universe? In simpler terms, when certain fund managers, they look into the stocks they could or potentially invest, that is what we call the fund universe. There are certain things that they are fund mandated them to review, or the company must fulfill a certain level of qualification before they can actually invest into the company. And if you look at 2021, EPF themselves have actually started the journey to becoming a sustainable investor. And they have defined two different sustainable investment targets. The first one being their investment targets, which means the assets or that they invested to be fully ESG compliant, which means that they would aim to have a fully ESG compliant portfolio by the year of 2030. Now, imagine if you are investing into a interesting oil and gas company, which I will link back to the greenwashing part I mentioned just now. If you are investing in that company, they are in, whether it's in the upstream, midstream, or downstream, they are directly associated with the carbon footprint. If they are doing nothing sought to reduce the carbon footprint, then definitely on the environmental aspect of the ESG, I would say that they haven't done enough. Okay, but at the same time, be very careful with greenwashing. What is greenwashing? In short, to be short, greenwashing is, let's say I am an oil and gas company. Now I'm doing a very minimal part. Let's say if I'm earning 1 billion a year, but I'm only putting 10, 20 million to invest in green energy. But you would say that I have complied with the environmental aspect of it, right? Because I'm starting to do something green. At least I'm putting in an effort. So if you are investing into ETF or some mutual funds, they are a potential risk where they some of the companies, they are being greenwashed. That means that their core earnings, they are still earnings the bulk of their revenue, and they're not doing sufficiently to cover up the carbon footprint of it. So that happens a lot overseas in terms of the oil and gas industry. But in Malaysia, so far, I think the bigger names, they're still doing quite fine, right? And the second objective of EPF that I mentioned just now is to have a climate neutral portfolio by 2050. But to be honest, we are in 2023. It's quite far for us to think about 2025. Okay. I just spoken to a company today. Europe, they are going to have a circular economy by 2025, which means that things that go into the European area, things that they import, needs to be able to be recycled. So on that context, we can understand that there could be a lot of investment opportunities that that will surface based on this kind of macro, ultra macro levels kind of governance kind of things, right? So by what do I mean by EPF? The EPF's ESG compliant portfolio just now, and it will mean that obviously, like I mentioned just now, all the investee companies and also their external fund manager. Yes, sometimes all these big funds, they appoint external fund manager to manage the money because it's too large in nature. They would need to secure companies that actually fulfill the ESG team. Okay, but of course, remember, ultimately, the focus of ESG investing is still lies in considering the environmental, social, and governance factor in you or their investment decisions, right? And being an investor in Malaysia, I'm sure we know how significant it is for a PLC, public listed company, to have a fund such as EPF as being the shareholder of it. Just look at the shareholder list. Imagine that when I talk to investors, they would ask me a simple question: why do I need to invest in your company? I do not need to say much. I can just show you that, okay, EPF actually invested in us. And generally speaking, we would consider the big funds or fund manager as so-called smart money. Of course, it is not the only indication that investors should look for whatever kind of investment that you do. But definitely having an EPF as a shareholder in a company will give you a lot of confidence, especially with their, if correct me if I'm wrong, 961.1 billion ringgit investment asset size back in September 2022. So you can imagine that if your company is actually to be fit in their stock universe, which I mentioned just now, I think you probably need to be a billion level company. But for a lot of fund managers, perhaps hitting a 300, 500 million market cap while complying to the ESG side, I think that is good enough to get a lot of institutional interest to the company. We'll talk about why institutional interest and all these big funds interest into the company is important to us as a retail investor, right? And if you look at the statistics provided by Bursa, which you can look over here, the chart actually represents the FTSE for Good Bursa Malaysia Index and also FBM KLCI Index. Now, if you have gone through my webinars before, I always emphasize that FBM KLCI is not the most important index that investors should look into every time, because it solely represents the top 30 stocks in Malaysia, which are the largest market cap by nature. And obviously, the top 30 companies, their share price has not moved a lot. Hence, if you look at FBM KLCI, we're in 1,003 range just now. If you look it back to maybe 5 years, 6 years back then, we are still not growing. But as a matter of fact, a lot of small cap, you can look at the FBM small cap index or maybe the FBM ERMAS. It constitute a lot more stocks in it that you can make a more justified kind of valuation in that sense. Okay, and if you look over here, you can look the PE ratio chart of the FTSE for Good Bursa Malaysia Index. Actually, they enjoy a much better PE as compared to the general companies. So why is that so? There are a couple of reasons that we can factor into this. Maybe we can briefly go through before jumping to the next topic. The first one being that they deserve a higher valuation because they are ESG compliant. Why? Companies that are at a certain scale and yet they fulfill ESG requirement and fulfill the fund manager's mandate, there could be limited choice. So a lot of times when the trend comes, or what we call when the time comes, there will be a scarcity premium. When scarcity premium occurs, the valuation or the demand of a company will increase. We'll talk a little bit about my personal experience on the demand supply part and also the scarcity premium later on. Okay. Now, so we talk about a lot about ESG, what is ESG, and the performance of ESG as shown by the statistics given by the Bursa Malaysia. So maybe now we'll talk a bit about the benefits of incorporating ESG into your investment. Now, this one, the case study you're seeing over here is actually an excerpt from the Bursa's one of their document. I've gone through quite a number of their document, but they do have a lot of case studies where they outline the benefits and maybe the successful and sorry, I should put it this way: the benefits that the company reap from complying to ESG and the risks that the company face for not complying to ESG. There are a lot of case studying over there, right? Maybe when we talk about benefits of ESG investing, I will always take into consideration that how quick a company is able to adapt to the environmental changes. Okay, we all understand that in business there are always a lot of uncertainty. This is the one thing that is sure about the business and stock market is the uncertainty. Ironically, and imagine that you're running a business that are full of uncertainty. Your supplier may not able to deliver. Your customer may delay your order. Your trade receivables might default on you. Now you want to add ESG element some more to the already very complex business aspect. This is never easy. But to be honest, as time progresses, you can see who are the people that actually can withstand the time. The companies that are able to adapt to the changes, they can successfully benefit from it as well. It's not only complying and being a stock that fund managers favorite, but complying to ESG now with today, or maybe 2 or 3 years, maybe 5 years before, they could already reap the benefit. Let me give you an example on public and even public side. Now, we mentioned about oil and gas just now, energy related companies that are moving towards the green energy. you can look at the capex, capital expenditure investment that they do. Normally, they can raise fund very easily compared to the traditional energy business, such as we're talking about oil and gas. By all means, I mean no. I do not have any ill intention towards oil and gas stock. I invest in oil and gas stock as well. And if you ask me now, can you replace the oil and gas or coal energy sector, what we call traditional energy sector, by green energy? The answer is no, not today, no chance. But there needs to be a gradual shift towards greener energy if you're talking about ESG over the long term. So back to the topic, the benefit that the energy companies could reap if they are in compliant towards ESG. One thing is that they could raise fund much more easily. Imagine this green sukuk, then they have the certain government fund that's willing to say, okay, you build this solar farm, I'm going to finance it, or I'm going to look for people to finance it, because I already can calculate your IRR, internal rate of return. This is green energy, which is good. You can perhaps you can sell your carbon credit. Bursa already have a carbon credit exchange ready, and there are a lot of things that could toy around with the green energy itself, right? The quick adaptation for the companies that are adapting into the changes quickly, oftentimes when a lot of investors they see a change in terms of the structure of the company, it could attract investors to a certain extent as well. Which when more investors, again, demand and supply, when there are more demands towards a company, the valuation of a company will extend. So if you look at the Bursa for Good against the FBM KLC index just now, the outperformance is actually quite commonly happen, right? And if you talk about investors coming into the market, actually Bursa foreign investors participation rate, I think is 20.3% as at the latest quarter, which is quite low if you look back even to 3 to 5 years kind of statistics. So we are in the low point, and if ESG investing really picks up in Malaysia, there are more framework, there are more galvanized kind of things coming out. As we re-attract foreign investors back to the market, we could see maybe a spike in terms of valuation for the companies that are in Malaysia, right? And perhaps we can circle it back to the risk management aspect of investing in any companies. So I'm sure everyone here knows Warren Buffett. He mentioned that the rule number one in investing is what? To not lose money. Okay, then if you want to not lose money, so you must find out where are the areas that you are likely to lose money and avoid it. Okay, when we're talking about stock market, things that could make you lose money are risks. Now, companies with stronger ESG practices, they are less likely to actually face major issues, such as the 14 indicators. There are some certification, there are some criteria that they need to fit into. The 14 indicators that we talk about that allows the FBM ERMAS stocks to actually go into the FTSE for Good index. The 14 indicators, if they were to fulfill all 14 of them or partially of them, they had already to a certain extent mitigated the risk of running into something that destroy their business practice. So let me give you an example. If a company is constantly aware of their water wastage, how much carbon they are emitting, or the carbon footprint, or perhaps even how they treat the wastewater, etc., the company itself can already avoid a lot of cleanup costs, a lawsuit, reputational damage, and that is for environmental part. Maybe for governance and also social practices, these companies that are adhering to the ESG part of governance and social, it's not likely for them to actually run into major losses, maybe coming from unethical practices, such as like we mentioned just now, they disclose to you the product ingredient of the product incorrectly. They are trying to mislead you, and if such cases happen, the immediate short-term effect is the financial performance. There might be impairment, but what's more critical is the investor confidence towards the company will be lost forever. And the hardest thing to earn in stock market is not money, but is trust. At least I would think that. Okay, once a company they lose the trust of investor, I don't think people now are that ignorant that you change your company name, then people will forget who you are. 5 years, 10 years back then, or maybe 1 or 2 years. There are company that are constantly changing name over the course of past 20 years, but I think investors now already know what's up to their sleeve. Okay. And if you are the unfortunate investors that did not look into the ESG aspect of the company, and unfortunately, let's say hit by a governance issue, and there's a sudden loss of trust, loss of major customer in that company itself, you will see again the destruction in terms of valuation of the company. Okay, so when we select companies with strong ESG elements, so they are very likely to weather through all the risk factors that we mentioned just now. And we as investors, we have a lower chance of losing money. That's the part that I see it most critically, right? And I also believe that being a PLC, to a certain extent, you should actually give back to the society. And companies that comply to ESG, they are already doing something that is positive to the economy and also to the social aspect of the environment. So maybe one of the aspect that a lot of people they might not consider, because it is something really micro level, operational level that we might not look into, but having a purpose to give back to the society or giving back to the economy, you might able to attract talents that you did not expect in such challenging times. Especially people can, we are running towards a very gig economy, and it's harder and harder to retain talent. But if your company fulfills the ESG criteria and you have a proper cause, then you might attract people that have the same vision as you. That's what we call talent. Now, when you have that, this might look really micro level, but imagine that you have 10 or 20 talent that your competitor do not have. What would that translate into? That would be your company's competitive advantage, and over a span of time, it will translate into profit margin or maybe profit, right? When that happens, if you see this chain reaction, when you have that in mind, it will enhance your financial performance of the company. So what happens when a company's financial performance improve? The valuation of a company, it will also follow through, which means that if your earnings is increasing, most likely that your market cap will also increase. That happens in a lot of companies in Malaysia. I'm sure everyone here actually see companies like this. They actually have a better financial share price performance. And driving back to ESG, scarcity premium, when the demand actually exceeds the supply end, there could be a re-rating happening. What do I mean by re-rating? So let's say this construction company, last time they enjoy a PE of 8 times, but now they are into green building index, which is supposed to be developer, but they are doing something to help developers to hit GBI. So that would give them perhaps a additional 1 or 2 times PE in terms of a premium, because they fulfill to the ESG aspects of it. So sometimes when going back into the supermarket example, is not only good for health. If you look into the ingredients that are good for the economy, sometimes it might be tastier in the sense that it will give you more return as an investor. Okay. Now, we are in a bit of a one-way conversation now, which I'm keep talking on about the ESG, but don't worry, we'll move into Q&A a bit later. I cannot see your comments on your questions for now, but I will quickly run through and I'll try to answer as much questions as I can, right? Things are not always bright, and it's not always on the positive side. Of course, we're going to talk a bit about the challenges of executing ESG investing in Malaysia. But before that, let me talk a bit about the ongoing outlook for the ESG investing in the stock market of Malaysia, right? So this is actually from FTSE Russell as well, one of the example of how they filter whether a company that fits into their so-called indicator. Now, we are actually seeing a strong government support on the outlook level, very strong government support, especially, let's say, Securities Commission Malaysia. They had introduced the Sustainable and Responsible Investment SRI framework for the capital market. So once this framework has been established, there are approximately 65 funds that are included in the SRI framework. So having this kind of framework established, the fund managers of the funds, they can actually invest into the ESG companies. And if it happens to be the companies that you are investing into, again, there could be a potential benefit where you can reap the profit because they're coming in, extended valuation, extended share price performance. Okay, as you can see from the premium for FTSE for Good index compared to FPM KLCI, right? But as I mentioned just now, we are also in a very low level of foreign shareholding, at least to me, that is the case. And we could actually benefit from it. Imagine that, let me take another analogy about share price. Imagine the share price of a company has dropped to very low level. Chances of it dropping further, it'll be low. It could be lower, but we are at base, almost base level now. So if anything happens, actually, the chance of it rebounding higher and you benefiting from it, it will be higher in that sense. So I think it's a good time to actually look into what, on a very global and very macro level, what are the things that this kind of funds they are looking into. So whenever they have the confidence level to come back into Malaysia, that is where we can reap the benefits of it, right? So yeah, that will be the outlook, and also the outlook of the ESG investing environment in Malaysia. But I also would like to emphasize a bit on the challenges of executing it. Now, we as investors, it's very hard for us. You see, why do I show this snippet over here from FTSE Russell? It's because it's extremely hard for us to assess whether the company is ESG compliant or not. That's the first one, right? I think the critical aspect, one of it is the lacking of a standardized ESG reporting format. If you look at the way that a lot of PLC, public listed companies, they present their ESG related data in their annual report, one company could be very different from another. Hence, there is a lack of actually standardized, or what do I call it, quantifying the ESG aspects of the companies and converting them for something like this, like what you're seeing now, the FTSE Russell indicators. There is still a lack of coherence for Bursa Malaysia itself for now. That's one of the challenge. And I think another challenge for us is that we do not have time to actually go through every piece of annual report, right? So to look for a trustworthy or a good source of ESG data provider is actually extremely challenging in Malaysia. And even if you happen to find one, which I highly doubt so at this moment, for the cost of paying it to collect raw ESG data is still extremely high. Now, don't forget, when we talk about the data provided by the PLC, the data is actually presented by them. So they could take raw data, and it's up to them to present what kind of data to you. They already, I wouldn't want to say massage the number, but at least it's not raw data that you can judge it very, very individually, right? And I would think that the lacking of such a very third party or very independent kind of data is also one of, like I say just now, it's also one of the quite critical kind of challenge that we as investors are facing in terms of how we're going to incorporating ESG into our investment. But we don't have to worry. We can still rely on some of the third-party sources. What I mean that by third-party resources. So if you look at some of the analyst report now, a couple of investment bank, they already mandated their analysts to actually include a ESG scoring into their analyst report. So if you're able to came across a company with super good prospect, low valuation, but their ESG scoring is low, so you might want to be careful. Look at the institutional fund holding of the company. Like I say just now, EPF. When EPF, they're going to execute 2030 fully ESG compliant portfolio, the other funds, they are going to follow suit as well. So be really careful about that part, right? And I think all these analyst report, we should really spend time to actually look into it. They provide us with a quite holistic scope of what kind of aspect of the ESG the company has actually fulfilled, for them to actually quantify it and put it into their analyst report, right? So maybe just a quick conclusion before I move into the Q&A session and also pass to Selena to share a bit more of the exciting news that up and coming. ESG investing, it's not a trend per se, but it's a mandatory criteria that we as investors should actually include in the process of us selecting stocks or buying products in the supermarket, right? So I would urge everyone to, start looking back into your portfolio. Does this company actually fulfill the ESG criteria? If not, how are they going to effectively manage risk? There's one part of it where you should protect the downside of your investments. And if the company is actually doing their part in ESG, how sustainable would it be? Generally speaking, it will be more sustainable because you are adhering to the so-called regulatory requirements. So the risk of your business being clamped down or shut down, loss of major customer, will be lower. Not to say impossible, but it will be significantly lower. So if you are serious into, making a portfolio work, I think now is the time to actually look into the ESG aspects of a lot of companies. So it might not need to be something really grand like, okay, I donated 100 million to give back to society. No, maybe just do what they are part of. Recycling is one of them. There's one frozen food manufacturer in I would say it's in I think it's Glenmary if I'm not mistaken, or somewhere in Subang area. If you have the opportunity to visit their factory, they actually have their own ecosystem of collecting the rainwater as their recycled water. Then they also install a lot of green energy. Yes, there will be a lot of capex involved initial stage. There's also the common perception that, okay, complying to ESG is very expensive because I need to do this, and this. But ultimately, take solar panel for commercial and industrial use, for example. Initial capex, now there are a lot of programs that actually fund you off it. What does that mean? You don't even need to talk to the bank voluntarily to say, okay, can you please fund me a certain amount of capex so that I can build the solar panel on top of my factory? No. Now they are working, EPCC player and also the financier, they are working hand in hand. They come to you and tell you, okay, you just sign the SPA, PPA, power purchase agreement for 21 years. We will sell you the electricity in X number of tariff, and your responsibility is just to consume, and the EPCC player will take care of it, or O&M, operating and maintenance, and another party, the financier, will come up with the money for the initial capex to, buy, design, and also buy the solar panel, to install the solar panel, pay the labor, etc. Right? So it can be very small things that you start to see changes in a company. At least you know that the company, they are able to adapt to the changes, right? So with that, I hope that you have a better understanding on how ESG investing actually would help you in terms of your investing journey going ahead. We are in a bit rush of time. Maybe I can take one or two questions before I pass on to Selena.
Okay. Max, do you want to start? Maybe I'll start with Selena first, and then I will go into the Q&A questions with
Yeah, that'd be
Selena as
good.
well.
Sure.
Yeah. Just let me share my screen for a while. Okay, so thank you, Max, for sharing with us once again on the ESG topic. And I see a lot of you has typed your questions out. So remember, we will have a Q&A sessions right after Selena's sharing. And remember, if you are interested in opening a trading account with TA Securities, Jessie Xiao, do remember to do so now. You can scan the QR code here. And TA Securities is currently running a Traders Cup contest, which is a trading competition. So if you want to join this competition, do sign up for a trading account with TA Securities. And the trading competition will be ending around 31st of August. So if you want to know more about the trading account types TA Securities offer, I will invite Selena to share with us on details about the trading accounts. Right, Selena? I'll pass the time to you.
All right, thank you. Let me share my screen first. All right. Okay. Can you all can you hear my voice clearly and loudly?
Yeah,
And
we can
also
see your screen as
it's
well.
fine, right? All right.
Yeah.
All right, thank you. So now I'll be taking over from here and continue with our company background and also our service. Yeah, so we are from Eventure Groups, an experienced equities team that is attached to PO, which is the TA Securities Holdings Berhad. And Eventures Group was founded on June 6th and 2019. So we are proud to say that we grew from a small team of 4 members to over 50 members to date. Yeah, not only that, through our efforts, actually, we got a lot of the awards in these few years. Yeah, so, okay, now looking at the account types that are offered by our company, actually, which includes the cash account, contract account, and also the margin account. Yeah, so first of all, which is the normal account, is also known as a contract account. If you'll be given 3 times of the cash and also 2 times of the shares limits to the clients who applies this kind of the account. Yeah, so the brokerage fee after a discount of the 15% would be 0.35 and also 0.18% with the transactions 100,000 above and also below. And its minimum is 12 ringgit. Yeah, so for the example, when the client top up 10K, at the same time, the client can request for 30K cash limit for him or her to do the trading first until the T2, which means after the 2 days that you purchase the stock, then only proceed the payment. Yeah, it can help the clients can use less money to do the more trading in advance in case the clients can't top up the wanted amount at the time so that they can have a backup limit for them to proceed their tradings first. Yeah, to avoid to miss up the golden time for the stock lah. Alright, so yeah, this one is our cash account, which is the more considerable because the client can enjoy with a lower brokerage fee, but also have a 1 times of the cash and 1 times of the shares limit to do their tradings more flexibly. So the brokerage fee will be lower as 0.12% flat and minimum is 10 ringgit. So the type of the account is most popular among the beginners of traders because it does not have a high rate of the brokerage fee and also can have another shares limit for them to do the tradings more flexible. So this type of the account. So take note, the shares limits is only will be given after the shares become the paid shares. So which means the shares have to pay, then only become your paid shares, but then only can use the shares limit. So moving on to our margin account, which is the most popular account within our clients and also market lah. So it considers an additional leverage opportunity and it will be given 2.5 times of the cash limit and also 1.5 times of the shares limit to the clients so that they can use the less money to earn more profit actually. However, this account type got one margin call at 60%. If higher than 60, so we will advise the clients to take actions such as maybe top up the cash or pet share or either need to sell maybe their shares to decrease the margin call percentage lah. So it actually suitable for the strategic traders because it belongs to borrowing the money to invest in the stock. Yeah, so in other words, if done properly, this will be the best type of the account actually for the investor lah. Yeah, our interest is going to be a bit higher, which is 6.5% per annum, but our benefits is doesn't have the secrets, and which means if later on you all wanted to buy a property, car, house, or loans or whatever lah, it's not be affected lah actually since there is not any secrets record there. Yeah, as I said just now, margin account is the most client prefers account type because it has several benefits. Yeah, so first is the higher liquidity in tradings and also investment. Then it can enhance the investment opportunities and also leveraging the margin account for its accretive investment and also maximizing the capital of the return. Yeah, so okay, so for the extra sharing, as mentioned just now, currently our company is doing one competition. It is regarding our internal client for the tradings, which named Adventures Traders Cup. Actually, there is not any terms and condition that need to be paid attention to. There's only one important terms, which is the result will be calculated in RI. It will be explained further later lah. And also need to be using our own platform, which is the TA Securities with any account types to do the trading. Then the result only can be counted. Then these competitions will be separated into two categories. Category A with the trading volume of more than 5 million. On the other hand, for the category B, the trading volumes of more than 1 million, but less than 5 million. As you can see on the screen, the ROI's formula is shown. So that the result that we will use the total sales value minus your purchase value, then divide your purchase value and also times 100, so that at the end we can get your ROI lah. So yeah, then so if you are interested or any questions regarding these competitions, can look for them, and they will provide more details to you, and also you can scan this QR code. Yeah, so we hope all the traders can take this opportunity to win the prizes. Yeah, our prizes including the Rolex watch, IMAX, and more lah for our winners. So we will try our best to offer the best service to you all, and hope that you all can try out our service lah. Yeah, thank you for having me today. Thanks for my sharing. Stop here. Thank you.
Thank you, Selena, for sharing.
Yeah.
Let me just share my screen. Okay. For current MQ members, you can get a bonus of 300 MQ points as a check-in rewards. So do remember to submit a screenshot to the post-webinar quiz that will be sent to your email after this. The email will be only sent to those who are registered for the webinar. So remember to register for the webinar using the QR code on the screen. We will be having our Q&A session soon, very soon. So right after the Q&A, we will have our mysterious gift as well. So do stay tuned for it because you have a chance to win gifts worth up to 249 ringgit. Okay, let's start our Q&A session. Max?
Yep.
In case there are any questions, maybe Selena as well. Yeah.
I'll try to understand.
So
yep, please go ahead.
Yeah, so I think there's a questions coming up from KM Value. Is there an independent ESG audit or certification body in Malaysia that could verify the ESG claims?
Right. I think, as I mentioned just now, one of the challenges that the ESG investing is having now is having a standardized kind of a framework that everyone can audit and verify. On a very generic level, there are Bursa Malaysia Sustainability Reporting Guide where you can look into. You could, to somewhat extent, to compare the public disclosure of a PLC against the Sustainability Reporting Guide, and SC obviously the SRI. They also have the guideline on hard reporting standards. Then Malaysia External Reporting Initiative, MARI, voluntary platform that aims to enhance quality of sustainability reporting in Malaysia. And I would say the most commonly used, whether it's a third-party reviewer or auditor, the most commonly used kind of specification is GRI, Global Reporting Initiative, which is an international organization that sets the global standard for sustainability reporting. So a lot of Malaysian companies, we actually adhere to or adopt GRI reporting framework to actually, enhance the credibility of the such report.
Yeah, just an extended question from this. So if the company didn't follow the framework, we won't be able to really check on it as well, is it?
Now,
because they will need the initiative.
No, it comes very subjective when you come to say it doesn't follow the framework. There is no fixed sets of items that you need to fulfill for now. Let's say if I fulfill A, but I do not fulfill B, am I ESG compliant? So that's a very subjective question, depending on what scope or what level kind of non-compliant or compliant to it. And non-compliant to ESG now is actually, you might not get into the fund universe, but it's not something that you might get penalized immediately for the company level. Yes, there will be inherent risks that might be carried forward alongside with your investment, but it might not reflect immediately into your investment decision now. So ultimately, to be very careful on what kind of things that complying. As I mentioned just now, there are a lot of companies overseas that are trying to do something what we call greenwashing. They're trying to cover up the carbon footprint by giving up minimal contribution to it. So you can make a judge on whether does the contribution make sense as compared to the company size.
I see. Yeah, so it's more on like a framework for us to refer to only lah. Okay, so the next question is KPJ Malaysia stock market counter is having a 7.3 ESG rating. So what does it mean for investors? Can you like further elaborate on that?
Yeah, I think I will pass on that question. The first reason being it touches on individual stock level, which I'm obviously not licensed to comment. And secondly, I would recommend you to look into. I'm sure the 7.3 it comes from a certain research house report. So under the report, normally, in the last 2 or 3 pages of the report, normally they will explain to you why the company deserves what band. Let's say from 7 to I said sorry. 5 to 7 equivalent to what kind of ESG rating, then 7 to 9 equivalent to what, then 10 equivalent to what. So you may refer to that research report's last part of it, that it will give you a better context of what a 7.3 kind of ESG rating means, rather than me trying to, shoot in the dark for you now.
I see. Okay, so next question is, does shareholder play a role to influence the company practice in ESG, or can we play a role in it?
Okay. In effectively by law, yes, we as shareholder, we definitely can vote or set certain resolutions that are presented in IGMs or EGMs. We can use our voting power to influence the decision of the company to a certain extent. But reality is, Malaysia, we still have a lot of family companies that have been listed. A bulk of control is still on the hands of them. And from what we see now, we can see that MSWG, they're doing their best in terms of what was the term again? In terms of questioning whether the PLC, they're doing their part in terms of treating shareholders fair, which is also part of ESG, and whether they're doing other thing else to fulfill the governance. But they are more towards governance and environmental factor. I think you can judge from the business activities of that company itself. Then if you hold a certain number of shares, let's say 5%, 10%, you can call for EGM, or you can actually go into the board of director as well if you have that kind of holding. But that's quite hard for us, for me at least, as a retail investor, to actually get engaged into such activities. So another thing that you as a shareholder can control is not what you can do as a shareholder after you invested, but to choose what kind of investment that you are going into. So make your decision clearly. Find out the ESG, whether they're complying the ESG guidelines or not before you invest, and best if to not join it after, because to be honest, as a retail investor, there are a lot of restrictions where things that we couldn't change as a retail investor. So I would recommend is the preliminary, the prelim actions that you can do before investing into the company, rather than you trying to do something after you invested in the company. Of course, if you hold 5% or more of the company, it's a different ball game.
I see. So either exercise our voting rights or try to scan through or filter ESG stock lah.
Yep.
Okay, so I think due to time constraint, we will keep it to the last question. So currently, green counters benefits from the government's ESG incentives, and hence it may push their performance as well. So will there be a risk when the incentives were removed, and how can we better manage the risk?
Okay, maybe, okay, green counters. Okay, of course, they are risk to be associated by the removal of the government ESG incentive for, I don't know specifically what do you mean by green counters. Perhaps we are talking about very friendly towards the E part of the ESG kind of companies. So for companies that are heavily into the what we call the green part of the aspect, you can look into very macro level kind of thing. What is actually going on the very macro level, and how long does the impossible that's a perpetual kind of incentive going on? How long would the incentive last? And look into the business. Let's say if you're doing solar, are there any better alternative solution depending on country you're in? Malaysia, inconsistency of wind is not good for us to have wind turbine, but we are very good also on mini hydro and also hydro. And obviously we are a country that in Kedah, there are a lot of this kind of solar farm is available. And perhaps you can actually evaluate the part, how long does the ESG initiative runs, and also always look into the innovation and also competitiveness of such technology. Is it easily replicable? How hard is it for a competitor to come in? And example is SSPV. As you can see, the tariff, of course, the price of cost of solar panel and everything has gone down, but in 3 or 4, I think the SSPV rate is quite competitive per se. It's not that attractive anymore. So always look for new innovation and look out to competitiveness. And last thing is whether the initiative is just something that helps them. It ultimately comes down to the management of the company to create long-term value towards the company itself and also to the stakeholders. So yeah, initiative or benefits coming from the government towards the green counter is one thing, and the fundamentals and also the management of the company on how do they adapt into changes like what I mentioned just now is also very critical in my personal opinion.
Yeah, okay, I see. Thank you very much, Max and Selinas, for your sharing. And remember, for those who are interested to open a trading account with Jessie Xiao, TA Securities, you can do so by scanning the QR code on the screen. And there will be a 500 MQ points for all who sign up during this webinar. You can also join their Traders Cup competition as well. So do sign up now if you're interested. Okay, once again, thank you, Max and Selena, for the very interesting sharing. We will be starting our mysterious gift session very soon. So do sign in to your MQ Trader account. Be prepared with your keyboard around, because normally the speed of answering is very fast. So there will be 3 questions, and for each question, we'll be choosing 2 fastest winners who answer the questions correctly. So in case if you see that the screen and the screen sequence from your screen and also from our side is different, so we will base on our main computer screen for the sequence of answering. We will choose the fastest 2 from our screen. Okay. Ready? So we'll be starting now. Okay, what is the full name? What does the term ESG stands for? We've been talking about ESG. The first one for sure is environmental, but what about the S and G? So what is the correct answer? Remember, the first 2 who type the correct answer will win the prize. I see a lot of answers coming up already. Okay, so let me announce the correct answer, which is C, environmental, social, and governance. They need to excel, or there's a framework for the environmental, social, and governance part of the company. So the first 2 winners would be Mengen MGK and also Victor. So for winners, remember to use the Google form to fill in your contact details and your address as well for us to send the gifts to you. So for the rest of the people, get ready with your keyboard. We will have 2 more questions to go. Okay. So the second question, which of the following is not a component of ESG investing? I think it's quite obvious. So do type out your answers quickly in the chat box. which is not a component of ESG, okay? Just now we have mentioned ESG is environmental, social, and governance. So what is not a component of ESG that we are looking for? Great, I see a lot of answers coming up already. And a lot of you answered it correctly. So the correct answer is A, which is quite obvious, which is the technology advancement. This is not what we are looking for in ESG framework. So the winner would be Wei Xian Chu and also KM value. Remember to use the Google form to submit your contact details so that we can arrange the gifts for you. Right, the last questions. As at 30th of April 2023, how many SRI funds are there in Malaysia? I think Max mentioned in his sharing just now. So this is kind of a tricky question. So how many SRI funds are there in Malaysia? Okay, I see Vic Toch actually asked questions. Let me just quickly announce the answer. I see a lot of people answering already. So the answer is D, 65. So let us arrange who is the winners. So Vic Toch, we have received your submission for the mysterious gift. We will arrange the gifts accordingly. Thank you for your submission. So for our winners, for the third question would be dun, 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 dun. Give us some time to sort it out. The winner would be Jeffrey Chang and also Win Kong, 28. So remember to use the Google form to submit your contact details and your address as well. Okay, that's all for our mysterious gift session today. For all who are interested in getting the bonus in MQ referral campaign, remember to sign up as an MQ affiliate now. You need to verify your MQ affiliate account to be able to start referring people. So do sign up now because the campaign ending date is on the 30th of June, which is about 1 to 2 weeks time. Your referrals take time to open account as well. So all the successful referrals needs to happen within this campaign period. So do sign up now quickly and refer now quickly as well. Right, remember, TA Securities Venture Group is having this Traders Cup campaign, Trader Cup contest. So do sign up for a trading account now if you're interested to join this contest. And that's all for our webinar today. MQ Trader will be organizing webinars at least every week or once every 1 or 2 weeks. So we will also be organizing giveaway campaigns from time to time. So remember to like us and follow us on our social media. All the social media accounts are shown on the screen. You can screenshot this part and use it as a screenshot later on in your quiz for your check-in rewards as well. Once again, a very big thank you to all who have participated in our webinar today. Thank you for staying true, and I hope you learned something today. I will turn off my camera now. The webinar will be live for a few more minutes so that all of you can refer to the links in the chat box or even on the screen as well. And once again, thank you for making this webinar a successful one. I'm Casey from MQ Trader. I wish you a good week ahead. Bye-bye.
Thanks for watching.